We're ready to get the machine set up, so we'll start off with our foot control on the side of the machine and our power cord, and then we'll turn the machine on. Kind of makes a little sound when you turn it all on in place. And I've got a spool of thread, and we'll put on the felt pad if you want to do that. This spool is a cross-wound spool, so we're going to have the thread come off of it from the end. And that means that we're going to go ahead and put the spool cap in place here. So that'll hold it in. Working with threads that are cross-wound, meaning instead of little X's on the spool, that they actually are stacked thread, then they are going to go on the vertical spool pin here. So that would just click onto that place. So I'm going to just leave that to the side. Our bobbin, I'm going to just take this empty bobbin out of the machine to use for winding. Great, and we'll get a hold of our thread. We'll go ahead and follow the little path to go under. We're going to follow the arrows and go along the path under here to the back. Now for winding a bobbin, there is a little pre-tensioner right here, a little button, and when you put your fingernail underneath it, it's going to lift up. So you need to make sure that the thread actually clicks in there. We're going to crisscross it around, so going around it clockwise one time, and then come on over to the bobbin winder. And for threading a bobbin, to wind it, find one of the holes, and take the thread from the inside out and then place that on the bobbin winder. Go ahead and engage it. You'll notice your screen will turn to an SP, and if you ever have that, just see if your bobbin winder got pushed over. And then as you start to wind, hold your thread straight up, and that way it will eventually break. If you have really strong thread, that will take a little bit. And we'll just go until that is a completely full bobbin. That means it will stop for us when we are completely done here. I'm going to just make sure this looked like it came out, so I'm going to flip that around. The one thing about bobbins is you want to make sure that you're always using the bobbin that is right for your machine. This is not the time to mix and match because they won't be the same height, and then that can lead to other problems. So definitely don't want to use anything you're not supposed to. All right, so we're going to just stop there. You can slide the bobbin back, and there's a little cutter. So lift it up, cut the thread. And technically, the way that this wound is the way you want to drop it in the machine. So if you lift it straight off the bobbin winder and then drop it into the bobbin case down here, the thread needs to come off the right, this is not the right, that would be the left side of it as it goes into the bobbin area. So there's a little black button. Take that, push to the side, that will let this little door come off. You'll notice there's a little arrow pointing in the direction you'll need to bring the thread around. So drop this in and bring the thread through this little gray groove. Sometimes I like to even put my finger on there and hold it so it's tight, and then pull on this thread. And you might even hear a little click. So pull it, and that's the bobbin tension that you just got it in. Follow the little path around, and then there's a little cutter here, so the arrow points that way, and cut the thread. And then go ahead and put the little door in place and press down. I do like that I see immediately there's a 1/4 inch line on that door. That is going to be wonderful. So I'm going to zoom back out so you can see the rest of the threading, and then we'll do the needle threader as well. So it should be obvious that we're not going to use this little pre-tensioner to do anything for our threading, but we're just going to follow, here I'll start again, we'll go underneath, so from front to back, and I'm going to hold on to this thread as I continue around the little groove following the arrows, because right in here is where it gets the tension is. So if I can go ahead and give a little bit of pressure on the thread, it will make sure it goes exactly where it needs to be. You can't see it, but there's 2 discs in here, and you need to make sure it goes all the way down in those discs. Also make sure that your presser foot is up when you're threading your machine. That way those discs are actually open. Take your thread, we're going to come in on the right side all the way to the back and down on the left side. And then there's one guide at the top of the needle. And then the needle threader will get brought down, and we can put the thread in its little kind of hook, and pull that through. I'm going to do a separate video on the needle threader so you can really see how that works nice and up close, but just the fact that you have a needle threader is worth it right there. So what I'm going to do is just take piece of fabric, fold it in half. You always want to sew on 2 layers of fabric, and then that way we're going to test out the stitch, make sure everything is as it should be. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little sewing. Ooh, I love the way this sounds, nice and quiet. Needle stops up, lift up the foot, and then over here on the side of the machine is a little cutter that we can use from front to back or back to front. And so what we should see is the same type of stitch on the front of the fabric as we do on the back. But we're going to talk about all the settings that this machine has, what happens when you use different threads in your needle and in the bobbin. But really when it comes to using the same weight of thread and a good quality thread, you shouldn't have to adjust your tension at all. And I see a really good looking stitch starting out. So let's get into all the cool things that this machine will do.